Hello, and welcome back to I Heart Mess, the YouTube channel that compiles the worst outfits all in one place for your consumption. Today I'm going to be taking a look at some of my most and least favorite celebrity Halloween costumes. While this isn't my usual mess fare, I had a special request from a subscriber to cover this topic, and so I've graciously obliged. If there's anything else you guys really want to hear me yap about, feel free to drop your ideas in the comments below, and I'll do my best to make that vision a reality. Thanks as always to Ruth Ann Harnish for sponsoring this video and providing us with these fashion frights of a lifetime. Let's begin today's recap with the unofficial celeb queen of Halloween, the reason for the season, Heidi Klum. And to be very clear, no Heidi Klum Halloween costume is a bad Halloween costume. She is perhaps the only celebrity who I believe applies the appropriate level of time, effort, artistry, and ostentation into her costumes every single year. And not only that, but she then brings that ornate costume to the people IRL instead of giving us just another perfectly controlled photo shoot of her wearing it. Heidi will also eternally have my seasonal respect for the way she keeps some of the most impressive artisans of prosthetics, makeup, and costumery employed exclusively to concoct these elaborate fantasies at her behest. Now, all that said, while I thought this year's Medusa was wildly impressive, and I loved the way she stayed in character the whole step and repeat, hissing and clawing at the cameras, I must say that the tail on this look only served to remind me of my favorite Klum costume of all time, the worm. And I fear Heidi will never be able to top that particularly iconic costume, but I love that she keeps trying anyway. As for her daughter, Leni Klum, again, the execution of this concept is superb. The model channeled the main character from the children's book, A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon, and the look is truly one-to-one. Now that said, I must add that if the costume you're wearing to a heavily photographed Halloween party requires you to carry around the source material all night in order for people to understand the reference you're making, it's probably not the right choice for such an event. But again, I really can't complain about a famous person crafting an esoteric costume too well, because the reigning theme of Halloween night in Hollywood this year was celebs profoundly phoning it in. I think it's one thing if they're just going out to do some low-key trick-or-treating with their kids, like Jennifer Lawrence haphazardly tossing a witch's hat atop her head. But it is quite another when attending a massive paparazzi party, and I have no sympathy for a wildly wealthy and well-connected individual having such a lazy costume at such an event. And yet, time and time again, that's exactly what I saw. Whether it was Emma Roberts just popping on a blood applique around her neck, Kelly Ben-Simone doing some light eyes wide shut cosplay in this masquerade mask, or Kaya Gerber failing to accurately recreate the signature attire of eternal fashion icon Little Edie. A whole other reason for the rich and famous to invest a little more time in their Halloween costume is that with the right, slightly controversial concept, the night presents a powerful PR-generating opportunity for all involved, as long as you're willing to wade into the social media fray a bit. And Wade Amelia Dimoldenberg did, dressing up as Hopper from Stranger Things, listening to Lily Allen's song Pussy Palace. Hopper is, of course, a character played by David Harbour, who is formerly married to Allen and who that song is apparently, devastatingly, all about. But Amelia's stirring of the pot was mere child's play compared to Julia Fox, who dressed up as a blood-splattered Jackie Kennedy. Now, this is a classic outrage bait Halloween costume for those seeking attention and courting controversy. But what was novel about Julia's take was the girl boss feminism she used to justify her costume. Statement about trauma, power, and how femininity itself is a form of resistance. Sure. Why not? Sounds great. Some stars took the self-promotional approach to the evening a little more literally, like Teyana Taylor, who put the faux baby bump back on to become her character Perfidia from one battle after another. And Haley Steinfeld slipped back into her costume for Mary from Sinners for the occasion, complete with a very realistic set of fangs. Of course, this is kind of a cheap trick for Halloween, as of course it looks good, they're the actual character wearing the actual costume. At least Haley's is thematically Halloween related. Classically, this holiday is also about absolutely stunting on your haters. And by haters, I specifically mean your exes. And this year, there were plenty of famous women who partook in that age-old tradition. Lily Allen used the opportunity to once again twist the knife in the name of album sales by dressing as the children's character Madeline, which is also the name of a song on her album allegedly addressed to her ex-husband's mistress. Nina Dobrev, who recently called off her 5-year relationship to Olympic snowboarder Shaun White, dressed as the bride of Chucky, and fans couldn't help but notice the striking resemblance between the killer doll and Dobrev's former betrothed. But the woman whose clapback the internet seems to universally agree won the night was Kayla Nicole, who dressed up as Toni Braxton in the He Wasn't Man Enough music video. Nicole is the ex-girlfriend of Travis Kelce, who some feel Taylor Swift shaded on her new song Opalite. Nicole's costume even got the stamp of approval from the real Tony, who commented, "You killed it, mama," and you can't ask for better revenge than that. On the topic of Tay, I must now share a thought that has been percolating in my brain ever since the beginning of October, when Ass and Ray wore Gypsy Rose Lee's dress on The Tonight Show on the same night that Taylor's album The Life of a Showgirl was released. Then, at Vogue World, a couple of weeks ago, Kendall Jenner strutted the runway wearing Nicole Kidman's Moulin Rouge performance look, and most recently, Gigi Gorgeous attended the Heidi Klum Halloween party in this stunning plumed number. And in each of these cases, I just find myself asking, where the hell is Taylor in all of this? How is she not out here wearing these exact outfits in their stead? Not even so much as a stitch of custom Bob Mackie? The Vogue World one especially felt like it would have been the easiest PR slam dunk in history. And what is the point of being a famous billionaire with all that money and all those connections, if not to nip things like Asin wearing that iconic burlesque number right in the bud? I fear our showgirl has lost her showgirl edge. Speaking of self-promotional divas and ill-begotten showgirls, I have to briefly touch down on my problematic fave Ramona Singer, formerly of Real Housewives of New York fame. As first and foremost, I thought this was a photo of Kris Jenner when I first saw it. Once I finally realized who this is actually a picture of, I was then struck by the caption in which Ramona writes, "Channeling Marilyn Monroe for Halloween party. I actually feel her." A cursed and ominous caption if I've ever read one. But also, longtime consumers of my work know that it is my crusade in life to get everyone to leave Marilyn Monroe and her legacy the fuck alone. In fact, I even wrote a lengthy essay about it for The Cut called Let the Woman Rest. And Ramona claiming to actually be possessed by Marilyn's spirit on All Hallows Eve feels like the perfect encapsulation of why our fetishization of the archetype of this real woman needs to be brought to an abrupt halt. Unless, of course, Ramona agrees to do Roni again in character as Marilyn the entire time. In that case, I say let her bastardize Marilyn's legacy however she damn well pleases. Now, perhaps the most exciting revelation from this litany of fancy dress parties was the debut appearance of a Skims merkin on the red carpet. Kind of shocking, as I presumed many purchased this useless accessory with the express intention of turning it into some festive, bush-centric attire. Yet I only saw one all Hallow weekend, and it belonged to Darren Chris's wife, Maya Swire, who dressed up as a true Puss in Boots, layering the Skims faux bush atop a flesh-tone unitard. A solid first outing, but I'm still waiting to see this pubic wig make some more interesting, high-fashion cameos. Now, Sia's pink crayon costume is clearly of the J-Law off-duty variety, but I just wanted to quickly bring it to your attention to point out that while this version is not particularly well executed, I do think there's a way to do a more structured, lampshade-esque version of this crayon tip hat that would be extremely fabulous in a Devo sort of way. Just some food for thought. Alex Earle dressed up as Lady Gaga in the paparazzi music video, and while I do not condone Halloween costumes that can exist only in Instagram photo shoots, I must support anyone bringing this music video back into the public consciousness, as I think it's one of the best of all time and is being systematically forgotten from pop culture history. While the costume is a very faithful recreation to the original, I do think Alex missed out on a major opportunity here by not recreating the cyborg arm crutch moment, or at the very least, getting Alexander Skarsgård to do a cheeky TikTok with her. On the subjects of celebs dressing up as celebs, Demi Lovato channeled her sister who she keeps locked up in the basement, Poot Lovato, one of the internet's most treasured pieces of fully fictional celebrity lore. And while I'm happy to see Demi finally embrace her legendary alter ego, there's also always something a bit how do you do fellow kids about celebrities demonstrating they're in on the joke with the rest of us. Like, I do think we have to be allowed to have some things all for our plebeian selves, and I fear the poop meme might be one of them. But honestly, I feel the same way about social media. Diplo dressed as Forrest Gump for his inaugural Run Club 5K, and this is likewise the type of costume you really have to be wary of as a celebrity. As when I first saw it, the Duck Dynasty beard looked so natural on Diplo, I didn't even bat an eye. I'm also typically not in favor of those zip-up onesie costumes, as they seem like an apathetic choice for those who just want to wear pajamas to work. But Damian Hurley's sexy Stitch getup may have changed my mind on all of that. I am always in full support of creative applications of sluttiness. Okay, and I will admit that when I saw this image of Kyle MacLachlan and Rachel Sennott reenacting the iconic Princess Diaries cover image, I was positively charmed. But that said, we must now retire this meme costume once and for all. I have seen enough versions of this movie poster done by both famous and non-famous people alike to last me at least another 20 years. Winnie Harlow was supposed to be a melting scoop of Neapolitan ice cream, and I applaud the creativity of that concept. even if I don't think it quite reads as that and I find the results to be rather grotesque, although I suppose that's probably the point. I should also be rallying behind this particular fashion moment, as it is truly my femme couture trend prediction come to life. Of course, I would have preferred it to be fabricated out of real ice cream and whipped cream, so the bikini became a sort of ticking time bomb / Cinderella at midnight situation, counting down to indecent exposure, but one baby step at a time. Joey King and her husband Stephen Piet dressed up as Muppets characters Dr. Benson and Beaker to attend a star-studded Halloween party, and I will always have a soft spot for a famous person who commits all the way to becoming a character without trying to make any part of it sexy in any capacity. Much like Damien's fuzzy onesie, in general, I'm opposed to a pre-made inflatable costume. But when it's Macaulay Culkin dressed as a toilet, once again, I might have to make an exception. This is also exactly the commitment to the bit I require, from the face paint down to the pristine white Crocs. Bonus points for the fact that I've never seen this particular inflatable out in the wild. One of my absolute favorite looks of the night had to be Justin and Hailey Bieber's son, Jack, who was made to pay tribute to one of his dad's most iconic fashion moments, wearing the purple sweatshirt and white denim jacket and pants combo the Biebs regularly wore as one of his stage costumes during his My World Tour era. The costume was perfect, but as I previously warned Justin, his son is already gunning for his swaggiest dresser title, and this costume only further proves that he's another mini fashion plate in the making. But while Jax Blues Bieber should be my winner for Best Halloween Costume of 2025, in true mess fashion, I must award that title to my chaotic queen, Drea DiMatteo, better known to many as Ariana on The Sopranos. This is obviously meant to be a scintillating promotional image for her OnlyFans business, but there's just something about full-body tiger stripe paint paired with a cocktail and a half-smoked cig that I find irresistible. Unfortunately, this particular outfit never made it beyond this image, as a trompe-l'oeil catsuit sans breeches doesn't exactly translate well to real life. But that's nothing a Skims merkin couldn't solve. Honestly, if Kim was smart, she would have had that fake Bush sponsor costumes exactly like this one. Oh well, there's always next year. Okay, that's all my thoughts on Halloween 2025. Thanks again to Ruth Ann Harnish for sponsoring this very spooky compendium, and I'll see you back here real soon with my summary of the finest fashions October had to offer. Bye.